What would you say you do here?
Hi, this is Clint Corley with KaiNexus. I'm joined today by our Senior Advisor, Mark Graban, for another episode in our series about what exactly the KaiNexus team does here. Mark, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hey, Clint, sure thing. Thank you for doing the interview before, and I guess we're turning the tables here today, right?
I'm excited to flip the script. I'm very excited. So, Mark, what would you say you do?
Well, with the job title, with a title like Senior Advisor, it really does beg that question, right? What do you do here? And I've had different roles with KaiNexus going back to 2011, so it's been 8 years now. Currently, as a senior advisor, I try to be an advisor to the company. I try to be an advisor to KaiNexus customers when it's helpful. But as I tell people, I'm not a full-time employee of KaiNexus, but I do have a full commitment and belief in the company and the team as things have grown and evolved. So, some of the things that I do, people listening might be familiar with our webinar series. So I manage that series. I help program out the speakers and the topics. And sometimes, of course, there's input on that from people on the KaiNexus team. Sometimes I present, but I usually play the role of host and kind of getting people prepared for the webinar. So that's one of the main things. I also sometimes speak at different customer events or the annual KaiNexus user conference that we're now calling KaiNexicon. And I think in general, I kind of think of myself as a bit of a brand ambassador for KaiNexus. I was at the Lean Healthcare Transformation Summit last week and was talking to somebody who works at one of our customers, and she said that when she was researching KaiNexus and she saw that I was involved, that was a positive thing for her, and so I'm happy to just try to be a bit of an ambassador, spreading the word about KaiNexus, and for what it's worth, I try to give a big old stamp of approval to the company and the product and the team.
Indeed. You alluded to or made mention to your role being a little bit different now than it was when you first got involved with KaiNexus. Tell us a little bit about that change, maybe what you did here and how that evolved into your role today.
Yeah, so I first met Greg Jacobson, the co-founder and CEO of KaiNexus, back in February of 2011. We were kind of introduced by a mutual connection who thought we would have a lot to talk about around continuous improvement, and that was really that turned out to be the case. I was happy that introduction was made, and going back to June 2011, I took on a title of Chief Improvement Officer, which again, that kind of begs the question. So, what does a Chief Improvement Officer do? But back, if today I would say, what do you do? Not much. Back then, I tried to do a little bit of everything. Greg and Matt Palulis, Matt was the other co-founder. He's the Chief Technology Officer. And Greg and Matt, they had a part-time developer working with Matt. And then I was working with Greg as the company was first coming to market. KaiNexus was getting its first commercial customers. And so again, we sort of tried to do, we had to try to do everything from marketing to sales to customer support. And, we're kind of doing the best we could with limited resources. And thankfully, we got things rolling enough to really start building the team and hiring other people that you've heard in this series of interviews. Jeff Roussel, our VP of Sales. And then Jeff starts hiring people like Clint, and we're building out teams and customer support. We're building out the technology team. So it's amazing to see that the company has grown to the point where we could hire people who really know what they're doing when that was not the case for me. But at least we were able to do something and really kind of help get things launched. So I am proud of kind of that role back in the day, but just really, really excited to see the continued growth and progress at KaiNexus, somewhat from afar, but I still try to be as involved as I can.
I think it may be worth a shorter episode for the more detailed story about how you and Greg first met, though we'll save that one for another day. Sure. We're asking everyone as well just to talk about an interest or a passion that comes outside of the workplace, and would love for you to share yours.
Yeah, so I think one passion just in general. I do really like cooking, and one sort of crazy extension of that is an interest and use of wood burning pizza ovens. So we have a wood burning oven in our backyard, and that's been a really interesting craft to learn and try to master over the last 12 years or so. So it's not the type of thing you make a fire and it takes a couple hours. You're not going to just make one pizza for all of that effort and all that wood. So we like having parties and get-togethers. If you're going to make one pizza, you might as well make 24. And it's great for that. I enjoy just figuring that out and trying to continuously improve my pizzas. It's great having people over, and I've had the KaiNexus team over a couple of times. So Clint, you were part of that group that came up for kind of the mid-year meeting a couple years back, weren't you?
I missed that meeting by about 2 months. So that meeting was July, and I think I started November of that year.
Okay, so you also avoided the awkward stairway prom picture that we all took. Right?
I fortunately got to exclude myself from the prom picture. Yes, I did.
Yeah, but Clint, we'll have you over sometime. I have had the Dallas tech office team over here for a bit of an offsite lunch meeting with pizza. So we'll get to do that sometime soon, I hope, Clint.
Indeed. Well, Mark, thanks for jumping on today. Thanks for being the one to lead the charge on this podcast series. And then thanks for being willing to sit on the other side of the table. Yeah. I know you and I will be bumping into each other here in the next few weeks, and looking forward to seeing you again face to face.
Yeah, always look forward to that. And thanks for playing hosting or for doing the hosting duties today.
Anytime.